Custom feature packs are a great way to avoid having to constantly migrate frequently used assets into new projects. Let's learn how to make one. The first thing we need to do is get all the content that we want to include in our Blueprint feature pack into a single content folder. In my case, I want to create a custom Blueprint feature pack for SuperGrid. So I've gone ahead and made a clean project that I've migrated all of the relevant SuperGrid assets into. I've excluded the tutorial assets and changed the folder structure a bit as well. In this step, it's important to make sure that there are no broken dependencies. Otherwise, when you add your feature pack to a project, those broken dependencies will carry over. The next thing we need to do is copy the contents of our content folder into our engine installation's samples directory. To do that, let's first open our content folder in the File Explorer. Now we can either copy the entire content folder or just the relevant folders inside of the content folder itself if we're sure that it won't cause any dependency issues. In my case, all of the content that I want for my feature pack is in the SuperGrid folder itself, so I'll just copy it here. Make sure you don't include the developers or collections folders. Now, let's navigate to our samples directory. In my case, it's going to be in local disk C, program files, Epic Games, our engine version, in my case, UE 5.3, sample. Now, let's make a new folder with the name of our feature pack. In my case, SuperGrid. Inside of this folder, we need a folder called Content. Inside of Content, we're going to paste what we copied. Now it's time to create the upack file that actually allows the engine to recognize our assets as a feature pack. We're going to need to make a few files and folders. You can put these anywhere you want, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll put everything in a folder called SuperGrid Feature Pack inside of my UE5 tutorials folder. Now within this folder, I'll create a pack folder. This is optional, but it will make this tutorial easier to follow, and it'll help with file organization. Next, let's create a text file here called ContentToPack. Now, inside of the pack folder, make one folder called config and another folder called media. Now, create a file called manifest.json. Make sure the file extension is correct for the manifest.json file. The easiest way to do this is by making sure that the Show File Extensions option is checked in the File Explorer. In the config folder, create a config.ini file. Again, ensuring that the file extension is correct. Go ahead and open the config.ini file in Notepad or another plain text editor. We only need to put 2 lines here. They tell the engine where our feature pack's additional content is located relative to the upack file. If you're using the samples folder like I suggested, then you can just copy my path and change SuperGrid. Regardless, adjust the path according to wherever it is you put your content. Now we're done with the config file, so you can save and close it. Inside of the media folder, we need to put the image for our feature pack's thumbnail and previews. I've downloaded images from the Unreal Engine Marketplace website, resized and cropped them as necessary, and then saved them in PNG format. Unreal Engine uses the TP_ prefix for their thumbnail and preview images, so I've decided to use something similar. Make sure that you follow these guidelines for your thumbnail and preview images if you want them to work correctly. The images should be in PNG format. The thumbnail size should be 256 by 256, and the preview size should be 400 by 200. Once your thumbnail previews are in the media folder, it should look something like this. Now let's move on to the manifest.json file. Right-click it and open it in Notepad. The manifest.json file is a bit more complicated, so I recommend downloading my example file from the Patreon page and modifying the necessary sections. Keep in mind that even if you're leaving a section's text empty, you shouldn't delete the section itself or it could lead to errors during the packing process. To start with, You can remove any of the name or description localizations that you don't want to provide translations for. Just make sure you at least keep English. Asset types are optional. If you decide to include them, they should be comma-separated values that match the asset type names in the engine. Search tags are also optional. If you want, you can include some comma-separated values. Class types are optional too. You can include class types like uSpringArm component, uCamera component, aCharacter, etc. If you don't want to include any, just leave it blank like this. Category is extremely important. In order for our upack to be recognized as a Blueprint feature pack, the category must be Blueprint feature. The category for C++ feature packs is code feature, but there are more steps to creating a C++ feature pack than just changing the category, so I don't recommend trying to do that right now. For this tutorial, just stick with the Blueprint feature category. Focus asset is the asset that the editor will focus once the feature pack finishes installing into the project. This can be useful when a feature pack has a single main blueprint or other asset that is the focus of the pack. If you want to add a focus, you'll need to use this format. Just make sure you replace folder name and asset name with the appropriate folder names and asset names from the actual feature pack folder structure. Supergrade doesn't have any focus like that, so we're not going to use this. Now we need to include the names of our thumbnail and screenshots in our media folder. If you're using multiple screenshots, I recommend using no more than 4. I've noticed that the carousel effect used to display the preview images can become a bit buggy when too many images are used. Just make sure the text here exactly matches the names of your images. Now we're basically done with our manifest.json file. If you're not familiar with JSON, and you've made changes that you're not entirely sure about, I recommend copying the contents of your manifest.json file and pasting it into a JSON validator online so that you're 100% sure that what you've done is valid JSON. Once you're done editing the manifest.json file, go ahead and save it and close it. The last file we need to edit is our ContentToPack file. Let's go ahead and open it in Notepad. This file will be used during the packing process to tell the engine what files to include in our upack file. All we need to put here are the paths to the config folder, media folder, and manifest.json file. The easiest way to do this is by going back to the pack folder, highlighting all 3 of them, right-clicking, and selecting copy as path, and then pasting that into the text file. We also need to make sure that we add a trailing backslash to the folder paths to indicate that we want all of the files inside of each folder. If you don't add the trailing backslash, none of the files in these folders will be packed, which will cause errors in the next step. Now that we've added those trailing backslashes to the folder paths, we can save this and close it. Now we can finally create our upack file. Navigate back to your engine installation directory. For me, it's local disk C, program files, Epic Games, UE 5.3. Now, we need to find our UnrealPak.exe file. It should be located in Engine, Binaries, Win64. In order to find mine, I'm going to left-click any of these once and just type UnrealPak. Here it is. Now that we've found our engine installation version's UnrealPak executable, we're going to right-click it and select Copy as Path. Now we need to open a command line tool like Command Prompt and paste the path to our UnrealPak executable file that we just copied to the clipboard. With the path of our UnrealPak executable pasted in the command prompt, we're now going to enter a command that will generate our upack file from the contents of our pack folder. The command we're going to enter needs to be in this format. Let's walk through it step by step. We've already entered the path to the executable, so that's done. Next, we need the -create equals followed by the path to our ContentToPack.txt file. So let's copy that and paste it. Now right-click your ContentToPack.txt file and select Copy as Path. Now we need to head back to Notepad or the terminal and replace the text after -create equals with the path that we just copied. So far, we have the path to our UnrealPak executable file with a space, followed by -create equals, and then the path to our ContentToPack.txt file, and then another space. Now, we need the desired path of our new upack file. The easiest way to do this is to simply paste the path to our ContentToPack.txt file again, and replace ContentToPack.txt with the desired file name of your upack file. Unreal Engine, again, tends to use the prefix TP_ for their content packs. I'm going to use something similar for mine. Make sure you include .upack. Now that we've put all this in Notepad, I'm going to copy it, go back to the command line tool, delete the path to the executable if you've already copied everything to your clipboard from Notepad like I have, and then paste the command. Double check the command to make sure it's in the correct format. There should be spaces between each part, and each part should be in quotes. Once you've done all of that, hit enter. If you've done everything correctly, you should see no errors. If you do, make sure your path names that you typed into the command line were surrounded by quotes and that everything was spelled correctly. Then make sure your ContentToPack.txt file has trailing slashes behind the config and media folder paths and not behind the manifest.json path. Also, make sure your manifest.json is formatted correctly. If all of those things seem correct and you're still experiencing errors, post a comment on this video and I'll try to help. Now that our upack file has been created, all we have to do is move it into our FeaturePacks folder, and we're done. I'm going to copy my upack file that we just created. We need to head back into our engine installation directory. This time, we're going to go into the FeaturePacks folder. Now, paste the upack file we just copied. If you followed all the steps correctly, you should have all your content in the samples folder and your upack file in the FeaturePacks folder. And that's it. You shouldn't have to restart the engine for your FeaturePack to appear. Just go to Add Content or FeaturePack like you normally would, and your custom blueprint FeaturePack should be there. If you ever want to delete a FeaturePack that you've created, just delete the .upack file in the FeaturePacks folder, as well as the folder in the samples directory that contains the pack's content. Everything I made for this tutorial, besides the Supergrid assets themselves, are available for download as a zip file for free on my Patreon page. If you found this video helpful and want to see more like it, then drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay, all I want. And I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really think anyone can save me, and honestly I'm not really sure I want saving. I like to be my own worst enemy. There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the